Last weekend I had a great test day on the racetrack in Croix, on France. And I took my RP30 to the track just to make sure that the clutch is working properly before we're gonna hit the track in Zolder in about 2 weeks. We had a whole bunch of Formula Fords on the track, and there were some very old ones and some more recent ones, some very powerful ones. So racing on the track, although it's not a competition in this case, it is still kind of racing amongst the friends. So everybody is trying to chase everybody. Some cars are fast, other cars are older and a bit slower, but we do respect each other on the track. So this is the straight line, which is not all that far because it's a very short track. But you can see we got some very sharp corners. And at the end of the straight line, I typically make around 165 to about 170 kilometers an hour. And here you see that straight line again. It may not seem all that fast on the video, but I can assure you, once you're in that car, a few inches above the ground, it feels fast. So here I'm chasing a very old car, which of course I can pass without any issues with my more recent car. And it's on the straights that I'm trying to pass, if I can, because it's safer. But in many cases, I catch up with people just in front of the corners, because I tend to brake later, do some trail braking, and then drive the car at higher speed to the corners than most of the others. Well, I wouldn't say most of them, but for many different others, like the one here in front of me. So this car in front of me is a pretty fast car. I'm trying to keep up with him, and of course I'm tailing it. But I'm going to chase it around the track for a few rounds, and eventually I will be able to pass it. Now of course you don't want to take really high risks on this. Now this corner right here is a pretty nasty one. You take it typically at 50-60 clicks an hour, and I was a bit too enthusiastic. I think I got a bit too much self-confidence, and you will see it eventually. I will turn around and have a slip. So this car is pretty fast in front of me, but you'll see in the corners I'm catching up and I actually need to brake for him. But once out of the corner, he is a fast out, I'm a fast in guy. So I was having fun with this car, you know, trying to chase it. I think it's gonna go around one more time before I will be able to pass it. There's a lot of shifting involved on this track. As I said, it's a fairly short track. It's about 2 kilometers and very similar to the track in Mété, but this one has a whole bunch of interesting corners and curves, which are not always that easy to take. Now under the bridge there used to be a little bump. Now it seems like they removed that one. So we're nearing again the straight. So again, here we have my famous turn where I had to slip in the next run. But this time I decided to catch up with the car in front of me and pass him about 3 turns further down the track. I don't rev up the car very high. I try to stay below 5,000 RPMs and above 3,500, and I probably should have put different gear ratios in the car for this track, because it's a lot of braking and it's a lot of acceleration. But I didn't bother about it because next week we'll be in Zolder and that track is a bit longer. So I think here I'm gonna grab him and try to pass him. No, not this time. It's on the next run around the circuit. So I had an issue with my clutch before, as I mentioned, and the clutch would not properly disengaged. So each time I was shifting, I was having some pretty nasty cracks in my gearbox, and of course that's not all that good if the dog is grabbing into the gears and the primary shaft runs. Not a good thing. But I was able to fix it. I made an adjustment. You notice that on my car, my left-hand mirror is missing. Well, that fell out halfway through this session here. Don't know where it is, so I will have to put a new one in, because it's risky to drive without mirrors. So yeah, here I'm kind of tailing him, and this is the corner where I will actually pass the car. I wanted to pass it on the outside, but it was a bit too risky. But here we go. So I'm flooring my car, and off I go. I just say thanks to the guy, because he's not blocking me, because we are gentlemen drivers after all. And now I'm gonna get a pretty fast turn, and on the next turn around I will have a little bit of a, well, spin. It happens every so often. I'm not scared of spins. It can be dangerous if some cars behind you. So here we have one of these old cars again, and of course that's not a big deal to pass those. Although they drive reasonable fast, but nothing compared to a Formula Ford, of course. And there was also a second one, the red one in front of me. That was a little bit faster than the blue one. And yeah, you need to slow down sometimes if you're behind them, especially in the corners. But then, you just pass them on the straights. And now I felt like I was the champion, and I went in too fast in that one last corner there, which is now coming up, and you'll see the car spin. Not a good thing, bad driving. Trying to correct it, and I did. So here we go. Bad driving, oversteer, turned around, half turn. Luckily the engine kept running, put it back in gear, and off you go again. No harm done. Fortunately my right hand tire picked up a lot of junk, because these tires are warm and very sticky, so everything which is laying around is going to be in the way. And then I just continued until our half an hour session was over, and then back into the pit.
Nee, dat is kloten.
Dat is gewoon gemakkelijk.
Ja, not al die kan vervangen worden. Hè. Als je zelf niet inziet, vind ik het al...